Sure. So it's a very, very common misconception, and it's something that started, early when sports were starting in like the early 1900s. And the idea behind it, like you said, is open up your lungs. And also it's a mental thing too. It's if you bend over, you're showing defeat, you're showing you're tired, you're giving your opponent an opportunity to see weakness in you. And makes sense. I get that. But uh, that's not understanding and taking into account the anatomy of the human body and how oxygen is delivered to the tissues and how we get oxygen in most effectively. So we have our lungs, obviously, but we have also something called a posterior mediastinal cavity, and that is in the back of our lungs. And so many people have a problem with extension. Almost every athlete individual I see that's in pain has some sort of issue with extension, whether that is through their lumbar spine, they have too much of a low back arch, whether that is they have a flat thoracic spine and they just can't essentially get air into their posterior mediastinal cavity. So what ends up happening is they'll stand tall, they'll put their hands on their head, and then you're just essentially sending air forwards because you're shutting off your back. Your back is straight and you're upright when you're doing that. So all the air has nowhere to go but forward, but you have this big chunk of your lung that is stuck basically back posteriorly, and you can't access that. You can't get air back there if you're upright with your hands on your head and your ribs are flared up. For more detail, we have something called a diaphragm, and the diaphragm is a big muscle of inspiration, inhalation. If we can't recruit our diaphragm to do its job well because our ribs are flared up, which the first posture promotes, then that diaphragm is not going to be able to bring in air, and we're going to start pulling in air with our neck and other accessory respiration muscles. So not only, I would say, is the first posture not ideal, I would say it's almost detrimental to reinforcing good breathing mechanics. So essentially what the hands-on knees does is it promotes air into the back, into the posterior mediastinum, and it allows our diaphragm to actually do its job because the ribs aren't flared up and the diaphragm isn't basically stuck in a compromised position. So at the end of the day, if you notice when you're really tired and you're exercising, you gravitate towards this position anyway. It's natural. So it doesn't make sense to go against what the human body naturally knows best.